Hello everyone, welcome to the Gamer's Grimoire, and welcome to a deck tech video here on Duel Links. We're going to be showing off my 30 card Rokket list that I've been climbing up to COG with. We're currently at Legend 1, and overall the deck's been performing quite well, so I've been enjoying it. So let's go into the card by card. So first off, we got 3 Rokket Tracer, kind of obvious. We've got 3 MagnaRokket Dragon. We've got 2 SilverRokket Dragon, 3 AutoRokket Dragon, 1 Gateway Dragon, 2 MetalRokket Dragon, 1 Hibernation Dragon, and 1 ShelRokket Dragon to round out all of the monsters in the main deck. For spells, we've got 2 Rapid Trigger, 2 Book of Moon, 1 Forbidden Dress, 3 Quick Launch, 1 Dark Hole, 1 Dragon's Mirror, 2 Boot Sector Launch, 1 Borrel Regenerator, and 1 IDP. For the extra, we've got 2 Furious Dragon, 1 Dracoberzerker Of The Tenyi, 1 Void Ogre, 1 Cyberse Quantum Dragon, 1 Borreload Dragon, 1 Diligerous, and 1 Booster. So, Rokket Tracer does everything the deck really wants to do. It's the main playmaker, main extender for the deck. MagnaRokket is the non-targeting send. SilverRokket is the extra deck rip. AutoRokket is the non-targeting send of a spell or trap. Gateway is a free, is a double summon for the deck, as well as a free starter if we're against a link deck. MetalRokket is the destroy of anything in the column for rockets. Hibernation is a warrior returning alive, but for dark level 4 or lower dragon type monsters, as well as has the monster reborn effect if it's in the graveyard, not the turn it's sent, for a dark link dragon monster. And ShelRokket is the shotgun shell or buckshot. For rockets, it destroys something directly in front of it when it's targeted, and then destroys everything to the left and right of it. Rapid Trigger is one of our fusion spells. It's kind of got some bonuses for this. It's a quick play spell, can be played during the end step, can be played at the end of our turn with extra floating during the end step to go into Furious Dragon. Also gives the monster special summon with it the protection of can't be destroyed or can't be affected by activated effects of your opponent's extra deck monsters. 2 Book of Moon. Book is just really good. It does everything you really need it to do. It helps stop plays. It protects your guys and your effects from resolving. It's just overall very versatile, quick, and any of the spells can be extenders with Rokket Tracer in the deck. Forbidden Dress has been one of those, like, it's a flex spot, but it's been really good when it's come up. It's another way to protect your boss monsters, can protect from, targeting if you really need to, can be used offensively to punch over things. Overall, it's just a very good card. 3 Quick Launch, it's another one of the mainstays of the deck. It's like the main starter you really want to open all the time, and it's another way to not commit to your normal summon. Dark Hole to break boards, as well as to do some weird skew case things like we'll show in one of our games where we actually use it in conjecture with Booster Dragon to get back another monster while clearing the board. Very, very strong. Dragon's Mirror, another one of the fusion spells, since we want to run 2 fusions in the extra, and it gives us some more longevity with using stuff from the graveyard. Next up, we've got the 2 Boot Sector launches. We want to play 2 because you don't want to open it if you got only 1, so having a second one lets you play the first one. It can be popped by a Rokket Tracer, or eat an MST without losing access to our field spell, which is incredibly strong for grinding your opponents out. 1 Borrel Regenerator. This is a premature burial for the archetype, and it's, pre-mat was not a bad card, but it's definitely been power crept. But this card gives you some more extension, and also trades 1 for 1 if the monster is removed or you remove it, so you get an extra draw out of it. Overall pretty good, and you only really want to play 1 copy. And then we've got 1 IDP. You can technically cut down a SilverRokket to play another one, or play one of the other sets of limit 3 traps, but right now I think 1 IDP has been pretty good. It's strong in the mirror. It's strong against a lot of decks right now, just in the banishing effect. Also can keep us alive. You can kind of take your pick which one you really want to run. Extra deck, 2 Furious Dragon. This is a DPE for the Rokket archetype. It's really good. It's a quick effect pop of anything. So long as you can pop something on your board, you get free pops if you got Rokket Tracer on board, because you can pop the target with the effect still resolving to get a body without losing a body on the board, without losing, that field presence. Overall, Furious is really good. It you can play something called Furious Control, where your whole goal is to just run your opponent out of stuff by attritioning them before it goes to your turn, and then you can end the game off with one of your 3k beat sticks regardless. We're playing the Dracoberzerker of the Tenyi. It's fine. You probably could cut this card from the extra if you don't want to buy the bundle, and you could play something else in its slot, whether that's a rank 4 or another one of the level 7s in this list. Overall, Dracoberzerker's still fine. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you get to banish the card. And then it grows when it beats over an effect monster and can attack again on monsters. It's a fine card, but it's probably the one that you could see yourself cutting the most in this list because it doesn't come up as often as you really need it. Next up, we've got one Void Ogre. Void Ogre does everything the deck really wants to do. It's a negation for spell traps, which is like one of the strongest things in the game. And it's also a 3k attack and defense, so it's a very good turn 1 play, plus some form of other interaction with either IDP or the Book of Moons to help stymie your opponent's plays. Great monster. It's always good to see a place in the deck. New addition, we've got Cyberse Quantum Dragon. This is a level 7 Dark Synchro. It is not a dragon, unfortunately, by name. It chose to have the Cyberse portion, but it does do a lot. It is a Grand Mole style of effect, as well as offers protection to our Link monsters. So when it goes to the battle step, or rather the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can return that monster to the hand. So extra deck monsters just go back to the extra deck. It clears boards. It can be indestructible monsters. It's non-destruction removal, and it can also push for game too because of the bounce. You're not going to trip an effect. You're going to send it back to the hand, and you're going to get to attack for 2,500 or 3k depending on what you built with the board. Next up, we've got the Borreload Dragon. It's, the main boss monster of the deck. It does everything the deck really wants to do as far as tripping up our rockets, giving us free effects to destroy or rather send stuff. Also has non-destruction removal on its own with the Snatch Steal effect. You can also play the game of playing Borreload Control because you don't want to hit into any back row. With access to our auto rockets and the metal rockets, we can kind of pop things as we need to before we finally go for game. Because I feel like you can play that long game. Diligerous Dragon, one of the main extenders into going into specifically Borreload, as well as if you go into a Borreload turn 1, you're going to end off typically on a Rokket Tracer plus a Diligerous, which gives you access to whatever you really need to do on your opponent's turn as well. We've got one Booster Dragon. Booster Dragon's been really good in this deck. It plays very well with the Dark Hole. It plays well with the Borreload Furious Dragon as well. And with the Cyberse Quantum Dragon, it's just an overall very good link too for the deck. It is rather restrictive from us having the 2 non-rockets. We can find some hands where we are not going to be able to make Booster Dragon compared to Diligerous. But if we are, Booster Dragon being able to start your floating parade is overall a pretty good place to be. It's also very good with Rapid Trigger. You can go Rapid Trigger, pop this, summon another one of your guys from the graveyard to have a live target for your Borreload Furious Dragon on your opponent's turn. Have no real big complaints. Let's go into the replays real quick, and then after we're done with the replays, we're going to go to a recap and talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. All right, first replay. This is actually the Rokket Mirror, and I will say our opponent didn't play the Mirror very well. They chose not to activate Tracer more than they should have, and by that I mean I don't think they activate Tracer even once. And they just don't want to float. Maybe they're afraid of Effect Veiler, but that doesn't really do anything. You have to force the Effect Veiler out. But let's just kind of show this one. They actually had no answers to our extra. There is another level 8 synchro that you could see yourself playing if you really want to play more pops, but only pops, I believe, face-up monsters on the board. It's like the Dark something dragon. It reduces attack by 500 to pop whatever on the board. So he's going to go on Void Ogre plus a Book of Moon. He could have had he should have ideally gone into pop this so we could go and get another Tracer out of the deck at the end phase. But he is also, I believe, only on 2 Tracer, 2 Quick Launch because he's playing 20 cards. So that might have been the main reason why he didn't want to. So he's forced to negate this because he obviously doesn't want us to have the Boot Sector launch because we hard opened it. But unfortunately for him, we play 2, so we get to have this get negated, play the Tracer, and now we've got him kind of in a hard spot. We're going to go pop our own Tracer. And we're going to float into the level 3 here. And because we still have access to our field spell, he's got 2 monsters, so we can now summon the Tracer back from the yard. And we're going to do exactly that. We're going to go into Tracer, go into Cyberse Quantum Dragon. We're actually just going to spin back the Void Ogre. And we don't punch over this with the second attack because we just don't want him to have ready access to Rokket Tracer. And he top decks Tracer anyway, and still doesn't go for a pop, but he goes for Dracoberzerker Of The Tenyi. And I'm not entirely sure why he goes for this, because now he's dead. He's going to attempt to attack, and unfortunately for him, this works on our opponent's turn. We're going to go for an IDP, take his Rokket Tracer, which we don't have access to right now, and we're just going to go and kill him. So we'll summon our idiots from our hand. We're going to go straight into a Void Ogre. Normal, summon the MagnaRokket, and he's just very dead. So in his extra, he was playing the old list, so he had Evil Swarm Nightmare as well as Malevolent Sin. And we finally got to a point in Duel Links where, you know, Malevolent Sin's fine. It's a fine rank 4, but unfortunately it doesn't really do enough. Unless you're OTKing right there and you only had 1 body on the board, so kind of take that how you will. We weren't going to get lethal no matter what play he actually had. So that is the mirror. On to the next one. All right, this next replay is in Legend. We are against Successor Soul Blue Eyes, and I feel like our opponent's very greedy in this matchup, and I think this version of the deck is worse than the alternative Eyes, because going first, Dragon Spirit of White is not really a card, but all right, let's go into what their plays are. They go Bingo Machine Go. They're going to go straight into Dragon Spirit of White. Summons the Dragon Spirit of White, which lets them search the Successor Soul. They send the Blackluster Soldier, and they set 3 back row, one of these being the Successor Soul, and you'll see the other 2 cards momentarily. So we're going to lead with Boot Sector Launch, summon the AutoRokket, summon the MagnaRokket. They actually opened Treacherous, they have the Successor Soul set, and that last card's actually Crackdown. So they're going to go Treacherous, pop both those goobers, we're going to set our cards, and we're not even going to go into any protection plays or link plays here. We're just intent to just kind of land on Rokket Tracer. We have the Gateway set, and we have our ShelRokket. So, knowing that he's also going to have potentially access to the Ultimate Fusion, we're playing around them trying to pop everything on board immediately while having some bodies left over. So we're going to see how this plays out. So they go into Vanilla Blue Eyes here. Battle Chronicle yet again, which gets them the Ultimate Fusion. Now, in my opinion, they should have went for the Ultimate Fusion to pop the board right now, but they get very greedy here. So it goes for Successor Soul, and he tries to steal, weirdly enough, the Successor Soul is trying to steal the Rokket Tracer and send it away, and we're chaining Rokket Tracer. He then chains Crackdown. He should have cracked down the ShelRokket, but he opts to think that he's going to be able to steal the Rokket Tracer and prevent my effect from resolving, but that does not work, and we will pop my Rokket Tracer. I'll summon from the deck, and he sets his other 2 cards. He has another Crackdown, and we know the last card is actually the Ultimate Fusion. So we have Borrel Launch active. We're going to go into Booster Dragon. This is under the preface that we think he's going to go for the Fusion, but he instead goes for Crackdown. So he Crackdowns, and instead of, once again, firing the Fusion off, we get to go into a Synchro here. So we're going to summon those from the yard, summon the Diligerous, and we're going to set a card. So by setting the Dragon's Mirror, he still does nothing, which gives us the option to now go into Void Ogre. And now he's effectively locked out of the game. We get to go Dragon's Mirror, we're going to go straight into the Furious Dragon. We're going to go Furious Dragon, pop our Crackdown, which gets us back the Booster Dragon. We're going to Boost Dragon on the Void Ogre. He's going to attempt to Ultimate Fusion, but it is not Super Poly. We do get to respond to it, and we just, you know, negate it, and now he's very dead. Beat over for 500, beat over for 3k, beat over for 1900, and he's super dead. And there we go. That was against a deck you might see quite a bit in Legend. I think Successor Soul is fine, but he wasn't going to be able to beat through that. Next replay. All right. This is another one in Legend. We are against Omni Hero in this, and I think, personally, Omni Hero is a pretty weak deck. Heroes in general, I think, are very weak at the moment, but yeah, he's playing Hero Alliance plus Omni Hero, so he's got the Super Polys plus basically all of the playable types that you'd run into in your extra. I do think he should have been able to play more Sunrises, but he just wasn't able to facilitate it this game. So we open, like, not even that great. Our hand's kind of the better going second hand than going first. So we activate the Boot Sector launch to go into the Rokket Tracer plus the AutoRokket. We get the float. We're going to go into just simply avoid Ogre and pass. Now, what's kind of funny here is that the Void Ogre just doesn't get to matter. So he's going to summon Neos, which lets them Hero Alliance get the Super Poly, so we know Escuridao is going to come out, and he's going to Escuridao away the Void Ogre right now. Using, weirdly enough, the Void Ogre on the... And actually, he has to. They have to be on the board. So he has to go and get rid of his Neos from the board, and then he's going to go into a Brave Neos here for, I'm assuming, some form of follow-up. Brave Neos, another one of those cards that's, like, heavily restricted and not very good anymore. So, yeah, we're just going to go, he's going to go attempt to beat over Tracer. We'll go float. Our opponent's actually just going to go and clear 2 Tracers here, which I think is fine. They just go clear 2 Tracers, and they have an unknown card. So we get to float because we did get to pop our AutoRokket earlier, so we still get to go into a Tracer. We're going to activate Tracer to go into MetalRokket. We're going to normal summon the AutoRokket. He still has no response. We have no clue what this back row is. Doesn't seem to be IDP, doesn't seem to be Compulse. We're going to go Booster Dragon, activate on the AutoRokket Dragon, and send that last back row. It is actually a copy of Generation Next, which would have come up if we actually let it stay on the board, but we did not. So we're then just going to go into our floats, activate a Dark Hole, and get back the Void Ogre, and this should be all that she wrote. There's not much that I think a fusion deck, which is inherently going to go minus when they go for their fusions, can do versus the Void Ogre without access to super polymerization. Alright, they go for the Neos fusion. We're going to go simply negate it, and they normal summon a Neos and then die. And like that, they're dead. We've got one last replay. All right, for the last replay, we've actually got one from the Casey Cup, but this is a deck you can kind of run into. This is Constellar versus Rockets. This is still the same list, and yeah, this is kind of a funny matchup. So Constellars ordinarily would be pretty good, but unfortunately, their stuff's an activated effect, and you're going to see how strong Rapid Trigger is versus this opponent who cannot read. So they open like the normal line, Pollux. We'll just speed this up. They go through their plays and just end on not the best board in reality. They only end on, I believe, like Pleiades plus yeah, they ended on Pleiades plus I don't really know how to pronounce this guy. And we have a Book of Moon, so we're just going to turn the Pleiades off. Since we opened the Boot Sector launch, we're just going to go activate it to get a free body. And we're actually going to go for just simply Furious Dragon into the Hibernation Dragon. We're going to pop his Pleiades. And now our opponent's going to learn something really quick. So they're going to attempt to go into a Caduceus play here. Let me turn this off double speed. So they're going to go into Caduceus, I believe. Oh, rather, no, they go into Telemi. Now, unfortunately for them, they don't read. You can still target this. It just won't do anything. All right, so they go try to send the Wino Borreload Furious send. Goes again into Pollux. Gonna go into Caduceus. Gonna rank up into another Telemi. Attempt to bounce something else. He's gonna bounce that to hand. He's gonna activate the Telemi. It's an activated effect, so it doesn't let him beat over the Furious, who's immune to it. He goes for the Cosmic Cyclone, and yeah, unfortunately for him, he is pretty dead. So we get to Hibernation Dragon, get back the Diligerous. Go into the Tracer, go for the level 3, which lets us show off once again Cyberse Quantum. This one doesn't have any of those mats, but for safety, we go into it with the Furious, which can't attack things from not the extra. And now we just spin the last one to hand, and then we get attacked for game with the Cyberse for the what's called the Cyberse Quantum Dragon. And there we go. That was us versus Quantum, or rather not versus Quantum, versus Constellar, and there wasn't really much they could do. All right, and now for the wrap up. So what are the pros and cons of Rockets? Pros, they have a very strong and consistent conga line of goobers that refuse to die from the deck. They are very consistent in going into both rank 8 and now, rank 8, level 8 and level 7 synchros. They have access to some very good, strong fusion plays with Borreload Furious, and they have probably the best link monster, I think, in Duel Links at the moment still with Borreload. The cons. The cons are you can brick. We are playing 30 cards, so there are hands where you end up drawing double boot sector launch, Borrel Regenerator, and a trap card that doesn't do anything. Going first, you really do need Rokket Tracer to be able to do much of anything, but there are certain hands that are not too bad. You can kind of try to, so long as you don't get OTK'd, you should be able to recover your stuff back. The deck is relatively flexible. Is another one of the one of the pros of the deck. It can play a lot of really cool tech cards. It's resilient to removal that isn't banishing. But the negatives are we are weak to graveyard hate, not specifically Dweller. Dweller doesn't do anything to this deck, so don't make Dweller against Rockets unless we're trying to reanimate something, but that's probably not going to come up too often. The floating from the yard doesn't get stopped from that, but we are weak to Crow. DD Crow is very relevant with Shiranui and the new zombie deck, as well as the zombie pile deck running around. We are weak, weirdly enough, to fringe decks. A good example would be Buster Blader. Very strong against us. We put way too many names in the graveyard, and they can just punch over us. And namely, Valor. Valor can be pretty rough for the deck, too. And 3 points of interaction, I think, is the point where it's hard to play through it with Rockets unless you open specifically Tracer and a quick launch. But overall, I still think Rockets is one of the most fun thematic decks to play, and I highly suggest you play it if you would like to play a Dragon deck. It's not too hard to build either, with Varus's rewards. Outside of that, I mean, give the deck a spin. Here's the list right here. It's fairly decent. You do have to go into the pack at least a little bit to go and get these quick launches, but you can build most of the deck too with your dream tickets. So if you're trying to build a pretty strong deck that hasn't been hit yet, I would definitely suggest playing Rockets. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've recorded it a ton and finally I think got the right take. So catch you guys in the next one and leave the video a like and a comment. Bye-bye.